Right, okay. So as I had told you that this video is going to be primarily dealing with a diagram that I have drawn in order to explain the two levels at which repression is happening to create heterosexuality. So while I was uploading the previous video, I had a chance to color in the diagram. So here is the diagram again with color. But anyway, so let me start explaining the diagram and by telling you exactly what is going on over here. Now, first of all, I'm not holding it properly. First of all, let us look at how, let me move myself. See how our identities are created. So over here, you see this girl. I have picked her out in pink to make it very, very patriarchally obvious. How is her heterosexuality being consolidated? Now, her heterosexuality is being consolidated, first of all, by denying her opposite parent object choice. So she is being told that she cannot sexually desire her father. I have represented desire by drawing, a flame of fire. Yes, very hot. Yeah. So you have this desire towards the father, but patriarchy is denying that desire. But patriarchy, I mean, this is according to Freud, but she is somehow, I don't know how, getting the message that you may not desire your father, however, you can desire somebody whose body is similar to that of the father. I don't know what is being meant over here, but I think the assumption over here is the penis. I don't know how the girl decides that the father has the penis so early on in life, but anyway, so you can't desire this body, but you can desire a similar body. Yeah, so that is one thing that's happening over here. Okay, now what is happening on the other hand? What is the girl's reaction to the mother? Well, the theory is that the girl is identifying with the mother. Really? Because if we are talking about bisexuality, then I can understand heterosexuality happening over here. Where is the homosexuality going? Where is that? Because over here there doesn't seem to be anything sexual at all. It seems to be an uncomplicated identification straight away. How is that possible? Now, this is what patriarchy wants us to see. And this is where Judith Butler makes her own intervention, and she says, I would suggest that what is happening over here is that there are two levels of repression that are happening over here. When we talk about this repression, you shouldn't desire your father, that is only the second repression that is happening, not the first. The first repression that is happening, so the second repression that is happening is called mourning. Why is it being called mourning? Well, an easy way to understand it is that mourning is regarded as a public social activity. When you mourn, everybody gets to see. Mourning is a performance. So therefore, this loss of object choice, this longing, this cathexis, this is something which you are allowed to, this is the longing that you're allowed to proclaim. Yeah, so you can say, I want a boy, I'm longing for a boy. If you're a girl, you're allowed to say that. This is something that patriarchy sanctions. But the other thing that is happening over here is that, and this is what Judith Butler says, is that you are also desiring the mother, but somehow the desire of the mother, the desire for the same-sex parent, that is not being talked about at all. So therefore Judith Butler suggests that this is only the second repression, this is the first repression. The first repression is melancholy. Melancholy is private. Melancholy is something that you experience deep down inside. Melancholy is not something that is socially, publicly obvious. So, while this is something that you can express, this is something that you can express, this is something that you can never express. So, there are two levels of repression that are happening. First is melancholic repression, which is the repression of your homosexuality. And then the second is the mourning repression, the repression of incest. But incest not towards your same-sex parent, incestuous feelings towards your opposite sex parent. So therefore, after these two repressions, mourning and melancholy, your heterosexuality is being consolidated. So what Judith Butler says is that in Freud, if we actually look very carefully, there isn't one heterosexuality and one bisexuality. One homosexuality, when Freud talks about it, he is basically talking about two heterosexualities, because what is happening in this case is that if sexual attraction towards the parent is always going to be an opposite sex attraction, can it possibly be that the attraction that the girl feels for the mother is the attraction of her masculine side, which is why I've drawn this male figure with the penis with the dotted lines, because this figure is almost like a ghost, yeah, almost in the background, hidden. And this particular line is almost unseen, but the desire is still there. So what is really happening over here is that, are we creating our heterosexual gender by primarily repressing the attraction towards the same-sex parent? Yes. Now one can argue that, oh, by that same logic, therefore, one can say that somebody who is homosexual, maybe they have a repressed heterosexual side. Sure, absolutely, that is possible. But the only problem with that theory is that because heterosexual longing is socially sanctioned, it would be very strange for heterosexuality to exist at a melancholic level, because there is always an incitement to discourse. I'm using Foucault's term. There is always an incitement to discourse. You're constantly asked to talk about your homosexual attraction, constantly. But there is a constant prohibition on talking about homosexual attraction. You're always asked to talk about heterosexual attraction. So therefore, melancholy, when it exists, I think chances are it exists only at the loss of homosexuality. And this loss is so profound that you don't even recognize that it is lost, right? So this repression is so profound and it lies so deep down inside that you do not even recognize this as a loss. So you forget about it completely. You forget about the melancholic sort of cathexis. You only remember the mourning. And you remember the mourning because the direction of sexual attraction that mourning performs, that direction patriarchy allows you to maintain so that you can become a proper heterosexual person. So I am actually going to, and this is where we are coming to the end of the second chapter. So by the second chapter, it becomes fairly clear that universal presence of law does not mean it is present identically everywhere, but that it is present somehow in every social form. So I'm going to take the drawing down now, but obviously those of you who are interested, I will be putting up a picture of this drawing on my WhatsApp status, so that those of you who want to, you can take a screenshot of that for your reference. Anyway, so I'm putting the drawing down now. Right. So broadly, what is being said over here then is that incest, bisexuality, homosexuality are first produced and then put in hiding so that heterosexuality can be revealed. So bisexuality is already built into the symbolic. It isn't there out there in the pre-discursive real. It doesn't exist in the realm of the real. The unthinkable is very much thinkable within culture, but it is only excluded from dominant culture. So therefore we are taught to forget. And what Judith Butler is telling us is that there are certain things that we are taught to partially forget, but there are certain things which we are taught completely to forget. And I think with that, we come to the end of the second chapter. In the next 3 videos, we shall be discussing the third and last chapter of Gender Trouble. Thank you.